we'll ask you to write in. In fact, you can do it now. thetorch@glennbeck.com. What would you like to learn from the founders? What would you like your children to learn from the founders?
thetorch@glennbeck.com. And you definitely, absolutely, unequivocally, under no circumstances should you send in an unserious response. You absolutely should not send in to that website that you would like to learn the Kama Sutra from Ben Franklin. Whatever you do, you absolutely cannot ask to know Ben Franklin's AI opinions on femboys. Whatever you do, you cannot do that. So this is on the official Glenn Beck channel, and I love that he calls it Glenn Beck's new AI George Washington, as though this is something he's built and engineered himself. Glenn Beck has been toiling away in the Glenn Beck mines, just wearing every shade, color, and pattern of sweater you can imagine, day after day, to bring this golem to life. This simulacrum of George Washington, I fucking guess.
It's an amazing thing to see how many people are just deeply, deeply engaged in saving our nation, and are
you can tell he's been slaving in the AI laboratories. He's been pulling those late, nutty Professor Frankenstein nights trying to get this creature up and working. He is. This is the kind of shit, I really loved Del Toro's Frankenstein, but I think Oscar Isaac could have taken a couple notes from Glenn Beck bringing his own monstrosity to life, because he's putting in, the hours are real.
Our life, our fortune, and our sacred honor comes to mind.
Damn, I wanna just nap on a laboratory table right now, just listening to him.
And we announced that we are building a museum, a brick and mortar museum. We begin.
Okay, chat. We're gonna have a word of the day really quick. I don't do this a lot, but we like to learn together. So I'm gonna, in the interest of Glenn Beck being who he is right now, we're gonna look up a word. Let's listen to it together. All right.
Somnambulant.
Somnambulant. Resembling or characteristic of a sleepwalker, sluggish. So this is how, if you want to have a word to describe just the vivacity, the charisma that we're seeing, the raw power crackling from your screens right now, the word you're looking for is
somnambulant.
It's so funny, Orasai. It's so funny when people ask, or when I'm watching something from Glenn, when people are like, who is this guy? Because, and here's the funniest part. If you don't know who Glenn Beck is, you missed out on an entire area of political discourse. You just weren't paying attention, or, whatever. That's fine. You might have still been grown up. I don't know. It's fine. Everybody comes from a different background. There was a distinct time in American history where Glenn Beck, in recent history, in the aughts, ruled the fucking airwaves. He was heir apparent, doing battle in the theaters of Rush Limbaugh, about ready to fucking smite that doughy, cancerous motherfucker down like a thunderbolt from fucking Mount Olympus. And then he got too big for his britches and then bet on the wrong horse against Trump and was never quite really in the same, long story short, was never quite really in the same race after that. Spent a lot of time trying to get back in, the Trump side's good graces and blah, blah, blah. But it's so funny because he has fallen so meteorically. No, Glenn Beck was really also, the other thing that I think bears mentioning is that while this is a very transparent stunt that is both perfectly in line with Glenn Beck's shtick, which has been the BioShock Infinite level mythologizing and dick sucking of the founding fathers as these near deific figures. But it also goes into, it's funny that he's doing this again, because before he had to resort to slop like this, and I mean like over a decade ago, he was on track to do what the Daily Wire most recently tried and failed to do, which was expand into being this kind of like conservative media empire, which thus far nobody's really managed to do. Everybody always talks about the culture war, but damn, it seems like these motherfuckers can't make culture.
I don't know, maybe 10,000 square feet. I think our vault is 5,000 square feet. And, you know, we invite people in to see some of the things, but I'm
like
really by
lulled
invitation
back to
only, or
sleeping on
if you call
Jesus
Mercury
Christ.
One, you can get in. But we're going to open up an actual museum. And it's not just the museum, the interaction that I had with AI. Now, remember, this is proprietary technology and information. This is based on the library that we have, which is the third largest collection of founding documents in the world, only behind the National Archives and the Library of Congress. And it's all original sources. So it's all the writings of the founders, all of the writings that influenced them, that we know from their writing, they read this or they were basing these things on these different items. It's the Federalist Papers. It's all of the documents. It's all of their letters to each other. It's their personal writings.
What essentially he's talking about is they ingested all of the founding fathers' documents and writing. They fucking national treasured their way into making an AI. Like, they just have the fucking, like, apparently they got the fucking Silence Do-Good letters. Deep national treasure pull for all my big cage heads out there.
All of the things that they had access to that influenced them.
Okay, so the problem is, already with this approach, is that we saw this a little bit ago. If you remember, god damn, it was the beginning of this year where I talked about how I did a stream highlight on it where stupid Silicon Valley education tech bros were trying to do like, oh, here's our AI Anne Frank that kids can talk to. And the AI Anne Frank would respond as not Anne Frank, but as a robot would, and talk about like basically how there were fine people on both sides saying the motherfucking Holocaust. Because these machines are not developing a sentience on behalf of the things they are reading, right? Like, because they can't. Like, you can have the most detailed writing in the world. You are still not going to get a semblance of who the person writing it is. This is absolutely true of philosophers, of poets, of creatives, fiction writers, politicians, because many times the way they approach the world in their person would be anachronistic to how they portrayed the world through their writing, right? And it's for reasons like that you can't just input writing, you can't just input a piece of art and expect a machine to intuit that, oh, this is the way the person was exactly like. This is exactly what they believed all the time. And they always stuck to this and they never strayed from it. Because human beings are more complicated than whatever we output. Like, one of the kind of collapse of AI and what it brings into focus in society is how many people just view humans as machines. How they just see humans as a zero-sum equation of output. That you are the thing you will leave behind. And that's just not true. And I think it's also telling that, again, there's no way, because of just how human beings and our experiences are composed of an endless myriad supply of influences, you can go by history books and historians can go through and say like, okay, well, definitely this person was influenced by Locke, this person was influenced by Machiavelli, this person was influenced by Thomas Paine, or this, whatever at the time. Especially, because there was a lot of political upheaval, there was a lot of new political theory, there was a lot of shit happening in between the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and it all kind of fed into one another. The problem is that there was a lot of other shit happening too. There was a lot of shit that the founding fathers would say, for example, but then wouldn't actually live by or act on. For a really great example of this, you should go listen to the episodes Behind the Bastards did on Thomas Jefferson to dive into how the dude was literally would go over to Europe and talk about, oh yes, no, we believe in freedmen and we believe in freeing the slaves and all this stuff, and then wouldn't actually fucking do it, and then sexually assaulted his own slaves. And I'm not fucking surprised that this is the approach Glenn would take. But going into this and giving so much credence to the ability of the machine and the algorithm to parse genuine context, to be able to try and intuit the flaws of humanity accurately, is so like insipid. It is so short-sighted that I can't even chalk it up to being blinded or being so excited that you don't even, it just has to be willful ignorance. Like that's all I can say. Even for somebody like Glenn, who I don't particularly think is like a really smart person. Yeah, no, exactly. SavvyCast. This entire thing, you summed up, I should have just said what you said. You said it better. This entire thing, the entire project, literally all of constructing an AI George Washington is defeated completely by the simple concept of people lie sometimes. AI doesn't have anything that we have not come up with, right? And I think a big problem with anti-intellectualism and the lack of emphasis on the humanities and the importance of things like philosophy that is taught to kids is that people see where we are as just this like spontaneous moment. Like you somehow arrived here and we have all of these amenities and stuff. But the problem is that everything you have, whether it's art, whether it's studies of history, whether it's philosophy, psychiatry, psychology, whatever field of medicine or study or whatever, is the result of an innumerable, untrackable amount of hours of work and thought and iteration by legions of people you have never known the name of. Right? This goes back to the kind of the context of how every human being interacts with one another, and we are a vast fabric weaving into and out of itself constantly. For AI to have any claim to intelligence is laughable because it is simply building upon the lessons that we ourselves have thought through for all of human civilization, for all of human history. The idea of AI being like, to go back to Hannah, the reason that I talked about this is that the difference between actual thinking and knowing, right? Where the book opens by talking about, and this is one of the things that like really hooked me in, was like, okay, but when you get into the deep philosophy of like, okay, you can know something, you can know a fact. And the problem is that the people who want to say AI is, oh, it's 12 times as intelligent as a human, is that no. Because the AI might, quote unquote, know shit. It has a treasure trove, a database of information that we've just given to it, right? It's not thinking about it. It is not thinking in the same way that philosophers have, that artists have, that anybody has for every movement they make, for every reflection they have in their life, for every sorrow, for every heartbreak, for every joy, every tragedy, all that shit. We think. We do not simply know and have an answer to everything. And that's the real problem, I think, with the detachment of AI from genuine intelligence, is that we put so much emphasis on these machines having the answers, but we are not thinking through the answers they're giving us. It drives me fucking crazy. I was about to say insane, but I said crazy. It drives me fucking insane. So I keep seeing, I yelled out loud at a bar the other day because there was a ChatGPT AI commercial where it was this fucking like, you know, it starts off and it's typing in a thing and it's showing these idyllic images of a brother taking his sister on a road trip, and they're just joshing around. It's this very humanizing moment. And it types in all these things of like, how do I put together a road trip playlist? How do I, where are all the best spots for this? All this shit that, by the way, you don't need fucking AI for. Like the AI companies are selling this idea to you, like, look how much this is going to make life easier. It's like, what? Did children fucking forget how to put together a playlist? Did we not learn anything from the entire early YouTube era of anime music videos? Like you need a robot to put together a fucking playlist for you? You need a robot to facilitate human interaction with your sibling to form memories? Like that's the idea they're fucking selling to you. These things that we have up until now just done on our own with no fucking problems. And it's because so many people are not thinking about knowing. It is because so many people believe or see the thinking and the knowing as the same thing when this is not the case. Simply being told something, simply asking Grok, hey, Grok, what about this? Does not mean that you now know it, nor does it mean that you actually thought through it. There is a difference between, hey, Grok, is this thing true? Please confirm my entire worldview. And you taking umbrage with what somebody says online and going, okay, I'm actually going to look into this for myself. And you say, wow, this is more, to do my Tucker Carlson voice. Wow, this is more advanced than I thought it would be. And they don't really talk about this. And of course it's banned to even ask these questions publicly. But this is really making me reflect on it. Like, nobody has that thought process anymore. We have abdicated the realm of thinking, of simple study, to the idea, not even actual knowledge, not even actually knowing, just the idea of knowing. A vapid facsimile of actual knowledge. Narrowing down the human experience to a zero-sum equation, or narrowing it down to simply what do you get out of the end of it? And AI is just another step in taking advantage of the same like manosphere shit we've seen for years, where it's like, you need to be reading fucking Marcus Aurelius, you need to be reading the Reflections of whoever the fuck and Sun Tzu. And it's like, okay, but again, you can have that knowledge, but are you actually thinking about what's being said? Because there's a difference in the understanding of those things between a college-level literature course and some dude bro who's trying to turn his life around listening to Andrew Tate and is reading Sun Tzu being like, damn, yeah. But we see so many people kind of summing up knowledge as these things of like you read books as a badge of honor, not to better understand the human condition or to better explore or challenge yourself or to just be exposed to new ideas and new ways of thinking. It's just to, at the end of the day, say you read a book and it's like, okay, well, then what the fuck is the point? Are you just reading books to impress other fucking people? I think that kind of attitude is why we see so many people, which it's so head scratching at first when, and this is the AI video is probably not going to be done until like February. I hope to have it done before then, but with my work schedule, The AI video really was born from such a place of me looking at people's reactions to AI and the being of like, well, yeah, no, AI, we'll be able to write books and look at all these books I've written and look at all these things I've done. And me going like, why? Why do you think that way? And it's because we see these things not as multi-layered contextual works of human experience, but as notches on a belt. I read 20 books this year. I think I read 20 books this year, around there. And it's I don't know, it's part of like the BuzzFeedification of how we consume content, where it's like, oh, have you watched this new show? Have you checked out X season of this yet? Have you looked at this comic yet? Oh, I've been meaning to get around to that. And we've turned every aspect of our lives and our appreciation for artistry and humanity into a checklist of things that I'm going to get to eventually, right? Which is part of that is a byproduct of there being so much shit to check out. That's where a lot of people get their conceptions of art and the profitability of art, the idea of art as a product rather than a endeavor, right? The idea of art coming down to the end result rather than the process to get there, because the process to make art is ugly. It's not pretty. ADHD.
We have George, which is the librarian, and George is going to be a system that will be able to give you answers to things and show you the actual documents, but it'll be able to...
I have yet to see any AI that isn't just doing what Google's been doing for over 20 years. I want to preface this next part with that.
If you try to read the founders now, it's so hard because they were so smart. They're using words that I'm like, I don't even know what that means. And
that is a, I mean, like, look, there's antiquated language, but what?
When you read the founders, you usually have to read it with a dictionary side by side. It's difficult.
Skill issue, dog.
And their language is so formal. So it's hard for us to relate to them. But all of the knowledge, this deep, deep knowledge is there from these guys. Literally, they wrote, I try to remember, was it George Washington or Thomas? One of them wrote at a 70th grade level. The 70th grade, you know.
What? Like, what fucking metric is there a old metric where they're like, oh, well, if this could be, like, a 70th grade level? What? He wouldn't have meant 7th, because that's not impressive.
This is an AI system built by me and my team. And it has pretty much, like, if you will, an electric fence around it. It cannot go and pull information from the outside and mix it with the...
So he's laying the groundwork here to establish that, oh, this is a like, this AI is pure. It is untouched, unspoiled by the outside world. This is only the things. The problem is that it is still just the things that you, a bizarrely founding fathers fetishistic ideologue, have given it, have deemed acceptable to be input into it. And that's like really the core of the problem here to me. Because I'm willing to bet fucking Glenn Beck probably isn't giving his founding father AI the accurate info on, like, I don't know, the slaves they had, people they killed, the indigenous genocide they enforced and oversaw. Something tells me that it's not getting the whole picture, the whole truth and nothing but the truth of who a lot of those jackasses were. If it is, though, I tell you what, I would like to fuck... If he's doing one of these for all the founding fathers, I will sign up to a service if it can get me a canonical Benjamin Franklin, because I'll fucking party with that dude. That guy knew how to fucking get down. All right? Look, hey, if he got a real Benjamin Franklin in here, we'd be learning tricks about cunnilingus that have been lost to time. That everybody thought were lost to the Library of Alexandria, right?
I don't even know how many thousands of sermons there are from the pulpits that were the churches where these guys attended. Because almost everything in the Declaration and Bill of Rights came...
Okay, so this is the other problem, is, again, if you are instructing your AI to say, these guys took in this information, whereas, and I want to preface this, I remember, I've been to probably hundreds of church services in my life. I remember almost none of them. They all blend together. Because that's human experience. It all kind of fucking fogs up and blends into a mush up there. But for an AI, if you input this and say, this is part of the data set, they're going to take that as being something, the computer, because it is a program, is going to take that as being a important data point, which again is completely divergent from how humans actually take in information.
George, we have...
I love the framing already. Look at him. He's fucking cherubic. I want to contrast, before we even look at George, I want to contrast this fucking face. Look at him. Here he is in a podcast studio with his own branding. It's looking like $1 billion, honestly. Just looking like Bob's big boy coming off a retirement cruise. Like, look at it. It just, oh. Hey, look, Florida's been treating the Colonel real good this time of year.
George, we have programmed a lot of information and given you a lot of information on what's going on in today's America. Based on your...
Happiest boy at the lollipop fair. So, and I'm curious, I want to see the raw footage behind this too. Because, like, was he literally just talking to a chair? Did they do the fucking... So what they did in... Let me see if I can find, like, did they have somebody like this? Did they have somebody like this on the set of just wearing, like, George Washington's fucking head on top of just like that way? Because they do this stuff on, for those who don't know how they film, like, if you ever are wondering, like, oh, how hard is it to film across from, like, a CG animal or whatever? Where they will just, like, green screen shit in, because it's all just placeholder. I am curious if they had somebody sitting, like a fucking intern sitting in the studio like this, with just like a George Washington hat on top of their head, or if it's just...
What is it that you feel is the biggest problem, or where we should start to fix things?
If I may speak plainly, my countrymen, the greatest danger to our republic lies not in foreign arms or political faction, but in the decay...
May I just interrupt you for a second? Could you just dumb it down just a little bit?
Okay. I do have 29 points, and they're all referenced to exactly what we said in the past.
For this, just speak in today's language.
Okay. I get it.
So they had to, first off, what he was saying was not, like, hard to parse at all. Don't know why they did that. But they had to, so they put together this whole, also he does look like Kevin Spacey. Oh, that's fucking uncanny. Oh, I can't unsee that now. Oh, that's terrible for me.
Let me speak to Americans. If I'm honest, America's biggest problem isn't political or economic. It's all moral.
Oh boy, hell yeah. Let's go. Let's get into just rephrasing the exact same argument. Like, what are the exact odds that all the problems George Washington, the AI robot, are going to have with modern American society are exactly the same things Glenn Beck has been whinging about for over a decade? That we have this moral divide that we need to overcome.
You've drifted from the virtues that make liberty possible in the first place. Freedom. To be free, you have to have discipline. You have to have faith. You have to have character. And if
I love, again, this all had to be in, like, this is Glenn having to act opposite an empty chair, essentially. Like, they had to have added this in post, right? Like, they had to have asked these questions and then had to AI him into it. Because it's very clear that he's fucking AI. This isn't a real person. Like, they didn't hire an actor, which actually that probably would have been the way to go. Is, hey, we're going to hire an actor to play George Washington and repeat the shit that our AI George Washington bot said, right? As opposed to this just bizarre middle ground between, like, a podcaster and like I don't, okay.
You don't have any of those things. Laws can't stop anything. They mean little. Government.
Because we have people coming over the border, we don't have laws. Okay, great. Yep.
It turns either weak or oppressive. You have grown skeptical of truth. You're reckless with debt. You're comfortable blaming instead of building anything. And in my time, we understood that self-governance begins with self-control. Do you even recognize what self-control is? Public virtue matters more than public opinion.
What the fuck do you mean public virtue? Also, yes, his face keeps fucking changing, and that's driving me crazy. Like, he absolutely, in that one frame, he absolutely looked like Kevin Spacey, and now he doesn't. When people were talking, or when they were talking about how it, you know, it reduces AI hallucinations, this is just nonsense. This is, and I guess I should have expected less. I don't know why I expected more, but it is the same, it's grok. It's the same language learning model shit where it just chews up and reconstitutes the stuff that's said back to the person. Except this is just working from a bed of stuff that Glenn Beck already agrees with and already confirms his worldview. Like that's what we're watching here. Confirmation bias if it were a AI robot with a t-shirt. What the fuck is Glenn trying to accomplish here? Getting some semblance, some desperately grasping relevance.
You keep electing these people, expecting things to change, but you haven't changed.
And again, I love how they sidestepped or tried to sidestep the allegations of like, this is an entirely, we didn't input anything into this. This is all just from their writings and stuff. But then as he's laying all this shit out that, again, just happens to perfectly align with all your worldview, you do have a bunch of stuff to put in front of it about how, you know, all this Americana of look how great we were and look at the Selma March, something I'm sure Glenn completely agreed with and would have at the time. And then also look at trans kids, because this was something George Washington very obviously had any fucking opinion on. Like, they're not good at... Glenn Beck in particular is not good at this.
The fix is not going to be found in Washington, D.C. It's going to be found in every home, every school, every heart. You know, where are the citizens who value duty over comfort, principle over popularity? America was built to be a moral and self-governing nation. It's only that foundation that will still save her.
You find information at glennbeck.com.
Oh my God,
You'll notice
dude.
he started speaking because this is what you will see. At the beginning, I will have to...
This guy, he's always about his fucking movements. This is the same dude who did the 9... Remember, do y'all remember the 9/12 project? We got to get back. We got to get America back to where it was when everybody was scared shitless and super racist right after 9/11. Like that was him. That was this guy. He always wants to have a fucking movement, start a hashtag, share this with your family. God damn. The Mormonism runs deep with him.
We'll ask you to write in. In fact, you can do it now. thetorch@glennbeck.com. What would you like to learn from the founders? What would you like your children to learn from the founders?
thetorch@glennbeck.com, and you definitely, absolutely, unequivocally, under no circumstances should you send in an unserious response. You absolutely should not send in to that website that you would like to learn the Kama Sutra from Ben Franklin. You whatever you do, you absolutely cannot ask to know Ben Franklin's AI opinions on femboys. Whatever you do, you cannot do that.
Would you like a podcast?
I just want to know John Adams' opinion on Bonnie Blue.
What would you...
I hope the John Adams AI is based on Giamatti. That would actually be pretty good. I remember, does that show hold up? I remember liking that, but I was also like a child when that came out. Yeah, yo, I want to know what is George Washington? What do you think of Assassin's Creed? True. Where'd you hide the apple of Eden? Okay, let's cut the bullshit. Okay, Ben Franklin, let's cut the crap here. Are you more of a Angela White, or are you more of a Larkin Love guy? What's going on? Where are you at?
Ask, if you could ask the founders a question, what would you ask them? At the beginning, because of compute power, we will be feeding.
Because of compute power. Because of it fills me with so much confidence in somebody's project. I'll call Trump saying everything is computer. That's so good. That's so good for me. Not people in the fucking comments not commenting because all of you degenerates are going to look up Lisa Ann and Larkin Love.
Those in and then producing and rolling out every day different podcasts or answers or whatever from George AI. I pray and I hope, and I have pretty good advisors on what in.
Honestly, see, that's the kind of shit. If this, first off, in a perfect world where AI is not sucking up an endless supply of data center electricity and poisoning the waters of communities all over, like that's the first caveat I want to get out of the way. But in a better world where we can use these AI as they are very clearly meant to be used as a fucking toy, like a Neopet or a fucking Tamagotchi. Like that's what we're playing with here. Like, this is a grown-ass man playing with a Tamagotchi, right? Like, yo, what if you did give George Washington, like, arcane knowledge through the like, feed him the script of all the Assassin's Creed games and all the National Treasure movies, and just to see what happens. Just to see what happens.
Because we want to make sure we have caught everything, because the last thing we want is anything that is anybody's opinion except for theirs. You'd be able to put in a bill and say, is this constitutional? Where does this violate the founding principles? And it will be talked about today. There was a story about the case that is in front of the Supreme Court right now about, having, some sort of expert running, the administration, and the president and Congress can't fire them. Well, I know the answer to this, but I asked George AI. I put the story in and I said, what did the founders say about things like this?
Again, like, we're stripping so much of this is in the. So then does George Washington, because again, that story doesn't take place in a vacuum. Are you also putting in all the information of the current administration of Trump and everything he's done and all the crimes he's been accused of and found to be guilty of, and all of the corruption, everything around it, and everything that's happened in the last decade, and everything that's happened in the last 25 years, and the current state of the intelligence apparatus and Palantir? Have you put in all the shit? Have you taught George AI about how AI is a massive part of the massive misinformation space that's happening right now? Because all of these are just surface list. Like, that. This is so fucking frustrating to listen to. Not necessarily because it's just so fucking stupid, but because at its core, it is dishonest. They are portraying this or putting it forward as though this is a new adventure, that this is a new horizon for technology. And look at how this shiny new tech can be used. But it's a fucking parlor trick. This is equivalent of somebody holding up a Tamagotchi and being like, and this is going to replace real pets one day. This will be just like having an animal of your own. And it's a fucking lie. It's so easy to pick apart. But whether through the fact that they've deluded themselves into believing what they're actually saying, or like I probably more speculate, maybe not Glenn, but at least some people that are willfully ignorant of how inaccurate and disingenuous all of this framing is. You betcha. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what other dumb bullshit comes from this. I can't wait for when George Washington starts saying some dipshit podcast gets him to say racial slurs and call Glenn Beck an F slur. Like, these are toys. And we've gotten to the point where toys are now what we are substituting for. Remember when I was talking about earlier reading books and the difference between knowing and thinking? Think about this.